Welcome to another episode of my podcast, That's Fine With Me. Today we're going to be talking about Lindsay Lohan and her downfall. I saw a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I don't remember when it happened, but I saw Freaky Friday Part 2, and I was super excited because this was one of my favorite films back in the day when I was a kid, and I'm desperate to see Part 2 because they're still acting the same actors, and I guess it's going to be a huge success, especially for my generation, someone who's a little bit over 30 or under 30 and who saw the first part, because this is nostalgic and I really want to see what they came up with. So we're going to get started with the Lindsay Lohan and what really happened to her, because when I saw Lindsay in this film, she looked different, completely different, and I thought she was 45 or maybe even more than that. And then I realized she's only 38 and she's about to be 39 in July. And I was a little bit shocked because is it like plastic surgery or it's just substances that she was taking for a long period of time or just genetics? I don't know, but it was a little weird because she wasn't looking herself. I remember Lindsay being that very beautiful, natural beauty actress, and I always admired her, and I still actually admire her as an actress, but for now it's just two completely different people. At first I thought someone was doing a remake with other actor, but she's only 38, which is crazy to me because in 38 you look great. Actually 40 is, I guess, new 30, and I don't really think I was a little bit surprised, and that's it. I'm not shaming anyone, I'm just telling my thoughts and my feelings. Why is it happening? I don't know, but it is what it is. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, Lindsay Lohan, she was born on 2nd July 1986 in New York, and her parents, they were not crazy rich, but I guess they were from upper middle class. And of course, her dad, he owned his own business, pasta business as well. He was in the investment banker. And her mom, she was a Wall Street analyst. So I guess it's ran through the family that they were really good at math, at least from her mom's side. That is the main reason why I was interested to see the Mean Girl film. She was great at math, and she was good at math, by the way, and in science when she was going to school as well. So it's just a part of the life that was true and it was shown in the film as well. She was a busy child. When she was 3, she was modeling for Ford models, for Calvin Klein kids, and for Abercrombie kids. And by the age of, I guess, 12, she had over 60 TV spots and over 100 ads for clients, printed ads for clients. That was a part of her resume that really helped to land the first role, a significant one, that was called Parents Trap. The Parents Trap was actually a remake, if I'm not mistaken, of a previous version. And this film was a huge success, and Disney was successful back in the day, especially in the 90s. If I'm not mistaken, Lindsay acted as a twin in the film, where her mom lived in Paris and the dad of the second twin lived in United States, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not really sure. And it was a huge boom in 90s to have kids, twin kids, in their films. But I was interested with California law that kids cannot work more than 2 hours if they're under 2 years old. And from 2 to 6, they could work only 3 hours on set. Lindsay, she doesn't have a twin. She's the only child. I mean, she's not the only child. She has 3 more siblings, but she didn't have a twin, as Olsen sisters as well as Sprouse brothers. That is the main reason why I was interested in that she had to perform 2 roles, but it was huge and successful and helped her to get more attention and get a leading part in Freaky Friday in 2003. We briefly talked about Freaky Friday right at the beginning of my podcast, but I honestly love the film. I think that maybe it's missing a couple more characters. According to the trailer, I didn't see her little brother from the film, and I didn't see a grandpa, but I guess grandpa is maybe not alive. I'm not sure. I have to check this information because he was old back in the day, and it's been almost 20 years since the first movie. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Freaky Friday is a remake, so this is going to be a second part of a remake that was done in 2003. Soon enough, she got her next role that was called Confession of a Teenage Drama Queen. I don't remember if I watched this film. Maybe I should check it out. Maybe I watched that because I saw a lot of teenage dramas of 2000s. I was a kid, I was a teenager, of course I was hooked on this series or like really cool movies. And of course, her career was very promising back in the day, but the best film that brought massive attention to her career and was huge and has become a phenomenon, and it's still a phenomenon in my opinion because we know this film really well. And a couple of years ago, I guess, it had rounds in TikTok with fashion and makeup and a couple of quotes. It's Mean Girls. And of course, Lindsay Lohan, as so many different actors, they just want to play jerks. I don't know why, but they do actually want to play jerks. I remember Stefan Paul Wesley, he wanted to act as Damon Salvatore, but he wanted to be this brutal and angry and, just sexy kind of like playboy vampire, but he couldn't get a role in the Summer Holler. He just like, when they saw him, they said like, yeah, that's Damon. As well as Lindsay Lohan, she wanted to be Regina George to get this mean girl attitude and act outside of her box because she always was this nice girl in the previous movies. But Freaky Friday was really good. I mean, like she had to act as an adult, as a grown woman. That was interesting. But she got a leading part of Katie. Katie was great. I think she was everything. She had a kind heart. She was really nice girl. But when she introduced herself to this mean girl, she realized that the only way around is to become a mean girl to defeat a mean girl. That's why Lindsay created on this role, because it had everything. It had this, cute girl attitude right at the beginning of the film. And then in the middle of the film, she was this mean girl. And then she was still a good guy at the end of the film. So that was great. I actually really liked the film. And she was actually nominated for the Teen Choice Award. And it was huge in 2000s. I mean, whenever you got the Teen Choice Award, you were cool. It was super, super cool, especially they were teenagers. And there were more other films. And meanwhile, she was filming in other films, she launched her career in music. And she had a first debut album that was called Speak. This was devoted to the problem she was facing with paparazzi every single time. She had really solid singles, I guess, in this album. And I remember listening to this music, and I really liked Lindsay Lohan's music. Back in the day, a couple of songs. Say what you want about me. Oh, I love this one. I just adored some of her tracks. It was really, really popular. That's why she gained the traction she needed, and this album had become platinum. But her second album failed, as well as her future films that she acted in. The second album was called A Little More Personal. It wasn't popular. It was criticized and it didn't get a lot of attention. That is the main reason why it just flopped. And along with such films as Just My Luck and Prairie Home Companion, so they weren't successful. But I liked Just My Luck. I mean, I wouldn't watch it over and over again. This is not the film that I loved, but it was nice. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't that successful. I guess because it was really hard to compete to the film she acted in as Mean Girls, and her next role had to be something significant as well, but it wasn't. So this film flopped in the cinema because people were maybe expecting something different. She acted as a teenager, as a young adult, and then in the teenage look, she was more like adult woman, and maybe teenagers didn't really like her in this performance and in this role. She had become a phenomenon back in the day with Regina George, with Mean Girls. That is the main reason why paparazzi, they were following her everywhere, and it was scary to the point, of course, Lindsay, she was hanging with one of the A-lister celebrities. It was Britney Spears and Paris Hilton. She was really close to Paris Hilton, by the way. And they were partying a lot. All of them dragged a lot of attention. So it wasn't for Britney Spears, it was for Lindsay Lohan. If it wasn't for Lindsay Lohan, it was for Britney Spears, vice versa, or like Paris Hilton somewhere in between, in the middle. And Paris, she was a party girl. And a lot of people had this connection that whenever you started hanging out with Paris Hilton, you are doomed because, wow, it's just going to be some substances involvement, as well as some alcohol, addictions, parties, men, and paparazzi as well. So that was doomed to be a failure. And it did. Lindsay had an affair with Paris' ex-boyfriend. I guess they just hooked up. My husband and I, we discussed this a couple of months ago situation. It wasn't related to Britney Spears, to Lindsay Lohan, or Paris Hilton. But I was like, what do you think if I want to date some of your friends, or you want to date some of my friends, but you happen to be like my ex, or I happen to be your ex? What do you think? That's a toughie, because in the case of Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan, this was her ex-boyfriend, but I guess Lindsay just hooked up with them, though she broke the girls' code, which is brutal. And in case of men, I guess it's not that crazy. I mean, yeah, if you hooked up with your friend's ex, maybe the friendship is going to fall out, but most of the time they might be just like, resolve this issue with a fight. I don't know. With women, it's so much complicated. Women are sometimes angry with certain decisions, and they might be a little bit snaky. I know that I wouldn't feel comfortable if my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, would hang out with my friend, my best friend, and I would see them together all the time. But if they were out of my sight and I just hang out with my friend, maybe I would be okay with that. If they love each other, I know it's really hard. If it's just a hookup or they do love each other and they do really want to be together, and maybe I was a mistake and that's why he needs to find someone and my friend is a perfect couple. She's a soulmate to my ex. Maybe. I don't know. It's so hard to say when you're not in this position. That's why we were just like talking and we realized that it's so individual. You have to be in this position to know how to react and maybe just think what is so important to you. That's why she broke the code. Lindsay broke the code. And when Paris was hanging with the guy, I don't remember, they were friends with Lindsay and Paris Hilton, but he, I guess, took Paris' side in the situation. And he was saying a lot of mean things about Lindsay and about her vagina, basically. Then he apologized, but you can't take words out of the context. That brought the attention of paparazzi, but in 2007, Lindsay had almost the same problems as Britney Spears. Britney went bald in 2006, and Lindsay on May 26th of 2007, she got her car in a accident. She just hit the tree trunk. She got arrested. She had some substances in her blood. And then on July 24th, same year, she was, I guess, chasing someone's mom, I guess her manager's mom or her ex-mom, and she was under substances as well. And that was the main reason why she got behind the bars for 4 days, but she just spent only 24 hours in jail. And when they released her, she had to serve 10 days of community services. But I guess her penalty was suspended in some ways, and she spent only 84 minutes behind the bars. That was a downfall of Lindsay Lohan. In 2006, well, she started her career in 1998, and I guess her career was more or less over in 10 years. She couldn't handle paparazzi. I guess no one could handle this. Who you should be to survive this bullying from paparazzi, from your fans, from media, and mean friends, celebrities, a lot of work hours. I don't know. You have to be, I guess, a robot. Yeah, in August 2007, she checked in rehab 3 times back in the day, and she wanted to be clean, but it was really hard. I guess it's really tough when mentally you're not there. She had to go through this journey and take a break, and she did. From 2008 to 2014, she took some significant roles, acted in Liz and Dick. That was some series, I guess, TV series. And in 2014, she performed in some play. But her 30s, when she was 30 years old, she moved to Europe, not only Europe, but Asia. She went all over the world. At first, she stayed in Dubai, and then she moved to Thailand and shared a couple of photos on her Instagram that she was bitten by a snake. And later, Lindsay moved to Greece, where she opened her business that was called Lindsay Beach House Club. She was clubbing in the same clubs she opened, and she tried her business side, and I guess she tried to stay away from paparazzi and from any of the spotlights for as long as she could to get back to herself, I guess, because Britney, she was under conservatorship, and Lindsay, she escaped, went to Europe, where I guess people didn't care that much about her persona, and I don't really think it was really important to her. She focused on her business career, but I don't really think it was successful because, well, beach clubs are great, but you need to attract certain attention to these beach clubs, and you have to know how to be a businessman and businesswoman. By the way, I guess another escape from United States was because of her dad accusations, and I guess he went to jail, and she had some bulimia. She was stressed out. That's why she needed to cleanse and just get out of United States. And she did feel and shared in the interviews that the United States were toxic for her, and she needed to go somewhere that no one knew about her. By the way, I guess it's her parents' fault. She was born, I told you, in New York, but her parents, they weren't broke as Britney is. Britney's parents, they tried their best to make sure that they can support Britney and can, get into a lot of debts to make her popular. But in the case of Lindsay Lohan, her parents, they could afford all of it. And while she was modeling for Tom Ford and in other companies, she was actually raised in the Long Island suburbs of Gold Spring Harbor and Merrick. It doesn't scream broke. It screams nice. And her parents, when they divorced, it was a hit for family, Lindsay and her siblings. That's why she took this pattern in her relationship with other partners. Okay, so I guess the business didn't work out. It was tough, that was hard for her, and she came back with MTV reality TV series that was called Lindsay Lohan's Beach House. It lasted only for one season because people were not interested. She's an actress and a singer, and then she's a reality show about your business. It didn't really sit well with people, and people were not interested any longer because there was a new generation of teenagers. They had their own celebrities, such as Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus. People were not interested in Lindsay Lohan because she took a big break. Needed, but it damaged her reputation in so many ways. And that is the main reason why in September 2019 she was adjudged at the Masked Singer Australia. Then moved to United States, I guess, and around 2020 she came up with a new single that was called Xanax. I don't know about critics. She had no official music video, and she posted the single on her Instagram page with a couple of videos with her friends, or I guess someone she recorded this single with. That wasn't bad. I listened to the single. It wasn't bad. It was nice. Maybe it's not going to be in my music library, but it's not awful. Definitely not awful. My theory is that she's finally back in the United States and she's trying with her manager a lot of ways to come back. And when you're grown up and when you have your boundaries and people are not really interested in you any longer as much as they were interested maybe 20 years ago when you were hot. And she's still hot, but I mean, like, when you're 20 something and you have a lot of teenager following your career and your path, I mean, there's still going to be fans when you're in your 40s and 50s and again 60s and whatever, and people are going to be gushing about you. But when you're 20 and you're a rising celebrity, believe it or not, you have at least 5 or 10 years to be great. Then you're going in a little bit different area. Maybe you're just shifting in some kind of like, you understand what you want to do with your life, and maybe you expand your business, you go more into certain area of your life when you don't want to be that public any longer, but you just need to maintain your image in social media and some magazines. So I guess Lindsay, she has taken this path. That is the main reason why she's showing up in Vogue magazine. She's showing up in Vanity Fair magazines and some red carpets, but she's not grabbing every opportunity that comes along. I don't really think she's gonna take maybe 5 films a year as she used to do maybe years ago, years prior. She knows what it means to have rest. She knows that maybe it's not always good to get that much films, or, you know, like your music career, your acting career, your concert, and all of it is on top of paparazzi. It's too much. So I guess she found her balance and she found her limits. And I don't really think these beach clubs are bringing a lot of money. I mean, it might be, but definitely she had so much money working as an actress and doing her music career. That's why it is always going to bring much more money than just like a couple of beach house clubs in Greece. I guess this was the main reason why she had to come back. But I started my podcast with the information that she's 38 and she's going to be 39. So we have only 9 years gap. No, 8 years. I'm going to be this year 31 and she's 38 basically. She's about to be 39 in a couple of months. From my perspective, I watched a couple of videos from Barrett Plastic Surgery, and he said that she had a lot of procedures over her face. Eyes, lips, cheek, chin, they're different, and that's a completely different person. That is the main reason why I didn't know if I saw the exact same Lindsay Lohan that was 20 years ago. I understand that it's not possible to be the same as you used to be 20 years ago, but from my perspective, I was like more expecting her to be a little bit more natural. These are 2 completely different people. And I don't know if it's sad or not. I guess it's about the problems she faced, some substances she took, some drama, bulimia. I mean, it affects your body. And I just want you to pay attention to these factors that maybe you have to take care of your body since the early age if you want to look great in 20 or 30 years. And that's my point of view. I'm not judging, guys. I'm just saying that it is so different, like 2 different people, honestly. And that's it for today's podcast. I guess Lindsay Lohan is back. I was surprised to see her back. And I was surprised why such magazines as Vogue were talking about her, because she was in public for a lot of years and now she's suddenly back. I guess it's because of the payments, and I guess it's about money that you still need to earn to maintain the lifestyle you like. And that is the main reason why she's back. Probably. She looks good. Still, she looked good. So yeah, what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna see you in my next podcast. That's fine with me. Till my next time. Bye bye.